君もアクセス百獣戦隊ガオレンジャー
Welcome back to the Miguel Zakova Show with me, Miguel Zakova. Today we're starting a new series, the Gaoranger Review Series. As some of you may remember or even found the channel through, I made a series of videos talking about Ghost Sager in 3 parts. It was a fun little experiment and literally led to my most successful video ever. So I wondered, what other Sentai I could review in this format? With the one I've set my sights on being 2001's Hyakjuu Sentai Gaoranger. But what is Gaoranger? That's what we're here to find out. So grab some drinks and lay back and we talk about the first 14 episodes of the 25th Super Sentai series.
So you wanna be a master of? Do you have the skills to be? We all live in a Pokemon world. Pokemon, I wanna be his master of it all. Rising in your hands. Pokemon. Go Axis! Go Axis!
But before we get into the show proper, let's talk about some brief production facts and aesthetics for the series. The previous Super Sentai series, Mirai Sentai Time Ranger, while very well beloved for its characters and story, didn't do too hot in terms of toy sales. So when making its direct successor, there was a greater emphasis on making the show more marketable to kids, with the animals represented in each Gaoranger being chosen due to their perceived marketability to the audience. Alongside that, this series would be one of the first Super Sentai to incorporate CGI more heavily in its production. Seen with things like all the power animals being created with passable at best 2001 CGI, alongside on-screen graphics to really perform the roll call, a trend which will continue with the next 2 Sentai after it. There's also the inclusion of the narrator into the show. A narrator isn't an uncommon occurrence in Sentai, but Gaoranger really likes having its narrator talk, which on one hand kinda works because the show sort of positions the tale of the Gaorangers like it's a story at the very beginning of the show, and there's some moments where he does add something. So there's at least a bit of sense to it. On the other hand though, he kinda just kills a lot of tension and interest, talking in scenes that probably would be enhanced if the show just let them play out without him talking. Like we got a Hall of Fame yapper as a narrator is what I'm basically saying. But to get back into talking about the animal motif, they also wanted to incorporate aspects of the animals and the fighting styles of the Rangers in a different way than previous animal Sentai. Even things like all 5 Rangers having claws in their hands, or the multiple scenes of Gao Yellow flying and Gao Blue swimming in suits. On that point, the Gaoranger suits are actually really good. Like the choice to push how animalistic suits are supposed to be, these are probably the best looking animal-based Sentai. Gaorangers are even good looking out of suit. The mostly black bomber jackets with hints of the Rangers colors, and the logo with the words Spirit of the Earth on the back is pure flame to be honest. Also, to list off one of Gaoranger's many firsts, we have the fact that they're the first Super Sentai that have phones be their main transformation device, through things known as the G phone. They're okay. Not the best henshin device in the world, but not the worst either. I like how they can transform the animals though, that's cool. Also, Gaoranger had the first combined weapon Sentai that's a sword, known as the Hyakujuu Ken, or Evil Crushing 100 Beast Sword. Yes, Hyakujuu means 100 beasts, that's why the show's all about animals. They also have the Beast King Sword, which they put their Gao jewels into in order to summon the power animals. I really like them. Kinda wanna own one to be honest. But to stop me from continuing on and on about the aesthetics, let's finally get into the story and characters of the show proper. Gaoranger follows the story of the 5 Gao warriors. The first one we meet being
Oh
yeah, the Gaorangers technically don't have real names, as they give them up once becoming Gaorangers. We're not gonna follow that because I'm not just calling them colors all video. Interesting idea though, and helps push how much these people gave up for this cause. But anyway, we first meet Kakeru, a veterinarian, who can tame elephants, and is recruited by the 4 other Gaorangers. Gaku or Gao Yellow, Kai or Gao Blue, Totaro or Gao Black, and Sei or Gao White, to become Gao Red and fight against the Orgs, or beings created from pollution that want to destroy the Earth. That's basically it in terms of the story for the show in these 14 episodes, leading to the characters having to carry the majority of the weight in terms of the show's entertainment, which they arguably are able to do. Yeah, the Gaorangers themselves aren't the best group of protagonists. They aren't horrible, I kinda like them, but they're definitely pretty bland in a lot of ways. Starting off with Kakeru, who's pretty basic as a character, having the standard Red Ranger personality being this very excitable, nice guy, tries to protect the people around him. Nothing special really, but I like the vibes I get off him when he does it. Especially seeing the episode 2, where Kakeru tries to see if he can reason with the Orgs instead of just having to kill them all. And then he gets massively disappointed once he's confronted with the truth that the Orgs are just pure evil beings who want to kill people, with Bro just having to push through the devastation to fight them all. After him, you get Gaku, the typical kind of douchebag character on the team, often messing with the other characters due to their apparent lack of maturity compared to him. Especially Kakeru, due to him being made their leader despite Gaku having a whole year of experience over him as a Gaoranger. As well, each Gaoranger came in at a different time, with Yellow being the first member. But eventually, as the episodes go on, Gaku was able to respect Kakeru more and more. On my first watch, Gaku wasn't really a favorite of mine. With this rewatch of these 14 episodes, he grew to be a favorite of mine, with him being probably the most consistently interesting of the main 5. Even in the episodes that aren't about him, like scenes such as when he tries to look cool by making fun of Kakeru not being able to help Gao Lion while getting injured in the process, is what makes him actually fun to watch. Hope he gets a little bit more episodes about his like backstory though. After him, we get Kai and Sotaro, who I'm pairing together because they're best friends. Kai's a very stupid and goofy guy, being treated as the youngest member of the group despite not actually being that. And Sotaro is a very timid but friendly giant. They actually have one of the best episodes in this batch, that being episode 4, where we learn about how they became best friends. As one day as Gaorangers, Sotaro let his fear of heights overtake him and almost caused him to fall to his death, before Kai saved him, teaching him the philosophy of never giving up, as they all have only one life to live, so they gotta push themselves even in the hardest situations. A very basic message, but a good one, and shows why a timid guy like Sotaro got so attached to a guy like Kai, as he's the person who gave him the confidence to be stronger. Sotaro is also the only one of the characters whose name is never actually said on screen. I'd look it up. They're really committed to that bit. After them, we get to Sei, the sole female member of the group and the actual youngest member. Despite this, she shows great maturity in her displays of emotional intelligence, seeing her and I think the show's best episode so far. Episode 8, where Kakeru loses his memories of being a Gaoranger and goes back to his job of being a veterinarian. Something which Sei convinces herself might be the best outcome for him, as when the two of them came to town, she sees how much the people around there value Kakeru, and thinks about how he might be wasting his time fighting as a Gaoranger instead of continuing to help people out as a veterinarian. Something which Gaku thinks is stupid as well. Kakeru already knew what he had to give up when he joined them, which, while correct, doesn't validate Sei's thinking that maybe bro would be truly happy if he got the chance to go back to his normal life. It's an interesting conflict, which the other episodes were this character based, which I think is the real issue of the Gaorangers as characters. Cause like on paper, they have about as much personality as any other Sentai team. They just don't got a lot of episodes that actually use their personalities in many interesting ways. Rather just focus on whatever new Gao anime we need to find this week. Which isn't inherently bad, because a lot of cool fight scenes and moments come from that. But it doesn't help this otherwise kind of bland group of characters feel any less bland. Episodes that are supposed to be about one of them barely get to touch on any part of their character at all. Hopefully this is something they improve upon in the next group episodes, even if I still like them to a degree. Also, there's the Gaoranger's priestess, Totomu, who lives at their base, Gao Rock. She's cool. It's fun seeing her try to understand modern society and stuff. You know, she's just like basically a glorified monster finder half the time. On the other side of things though, you got the 3 generals of the orgs, those being Susu, Yayabaiba, and Shuten. They're okay. Susui and Yayabaiba are pretty decent comedy relief. Susui being an older lady, always made fun of for being old, and Yabaiba just a goofball with little care in the world besides destruction. Shuten, on the other hand, is pretty boring. There's being a giant eye who wants to kill the Gaorangers. Good thing he gets killed off this early. Hopefully the next guy is better. Also, there's the god of the orgs, known as the Org Master, but he doesn't talk. Wonder if that'll come back up again. But amidst all this stuff that sort of rubber bands in terms of quality, there is one aspect of Gaoranger which I'm able to unanimously praise, that being the power animals, and how they're treated in both a story and toy sense. The Power Animals is the very first Super Sentai mech line to heavily focus on auxiliary pieces, which are pieces outside of the base mech combination that combine to make other combination. A toy-like gimmick that many Sentai afterwards would copy. But as the originator of the gimmick, Gaoranger shows off the start of many of the plot points that many of these later shows would copy, and I had a certain amount of joy seeing all these unique ideas implemented into the show. From Gao Blue getting visions of the future due to a special crane that holds Gao Giraffe, the Gao Gorilla being a god to an ancient group of people, being some that help the Gaorangers about these people from the past. Details that don't fix the issue of how they gain these power animals being kind of detached from any form of character writing for the main cast, but I think it really sells this idea of them being these divine and all-powerful beings, making the collecting of them all the more rewarding. Kind of like capturing a legendary in Pokemon, which is supposedly supposed to be an inspiration from Gaoranger and the power animals. Can't quite find sources on it, but I can see it with how popular it was around the time. Let me stop talking like the first Pokemon games I played weren't X and Y. Alongside the power animals, there's also something known as the Soul Bird, which becomes a new cockpit for the mechs Gao King and Gao Muscle. Both fire designs, by the way. I also like the Soul Bird, but I can see why future cockpits would just go back to what the Gaorangers were using before, because this thing is kind of cramped, in all honesty. But with that, I kind of talk about everything worth talking about with Gaoranger so far. So all in all, Gaoranger is kind of just okay for now. While the aesthetics are super impressive, the characters themselves fall a little short due to the way the show is written. Despite all of that, I found myself still liking it due to the way it kind of represents the most basic and raw aspects of what makes a Sentai cool in a way. This can best be seen in the episode where the Soul Bird debuts, as it says the Gaorangers have to lose the ability to transform and almost die in battle. Our heroes gain the ability to transform once more, and the triumphant music plays as they defeat Shuten once and for all. It's a basic thing that any Sentai could do, but I like seeing Sentai do those things, and when Gaoranger does it, it's as cool as any other Sentai doing it. I don't know, maybe I'm too easily impressed or something, but things like that are what allow Gaoranger to be enjoyable to me, despite how kind of middle of the road it is of a show in all reality. Hopefully my opinion of it will improve even more when I watch the next batch of episodes. But until then, see you in the next Gaoranger review.
みんな大ニュースだ。
ただいまガオレンジャーキャンペーン実施中。
抽選で番組に出演できたり、
他にも素敵なプレゼントが当たっちゃうよ。
詳しくはこちらのテレホンセンターまで。みんなの応募待ってます。